Get ready for one of the toughest motorsports in North America. This is the SCCA Pro Rally Championship Series presented by Hot Wheels. For round number 1 of the championship series, we head north to Atlanta, Michigan to the ice and snow-covered roads of the Snowdrift Pro Rally. The championship starts in Atlanta, Michigan, but we'll travel across the country for the 9 events of the championship: Oregon Trails Pro Rally, STPR, Pikes Peak, Maine Forest, Ojibwe, Colorado Cog, and we finish up the season at Lake Superior in Michigan. The road conditions at Snowdrift were very tricky. They had an ice base with fresh fallen snow, made the roads very slippery. It was very cold too. And first out on the roads to find out the conditions was Seamus Burke. Seamus was first on the road in his brand new Evo, which made it more tricky for him, but his co-driver, Charles Bradley, gave us a lowdown on their strategy for the weekend.
Patience, and just be clean and neat and consistent.
That's what makes you fast.
Yeah, and this stuff anyway, in the snow. So hopefully we'll be there at the end of the night, and we'll try and be there for the second day, you know. But it is cold.
Being patient and waiting for others to make the mistakes, a good strategy. Canadian Andrew Comrie-Picard, no stranger to these conditions. He and co-driver Mark Goldfarb came out of the box quick, setting the fast time on the first 4 stages. They're competing this weekend against Dennis Martin and Kim DeMott in the open class. They were adjusting well to the conditions. Raman Alagaman was a factory driver for the Subaru team last year and is here this year in a Vermont sports car Group N Impreza, lower powered than the open class, but that's not necessarily a disadvantage on these slick conditions. Raman told us he's just glad to be back behind the wheel.
We're driving something, which is good. 2 weeks ago, this deal just came together, and we didn't really know if we were going to make it, but we're here. Wrong color, but at least we're here, and I'm really grateful to Subaru and Vermont Sports Car for getting us out here, and you know, hopefully we have a good season.
Also down from Canada, Pat Richard in his Group N Impreza is making a name for himself in the WRC and in Canada.
Right 3.
And wants to make his mark here in the U.S. with co-driver
120.
Brian Maxwell. Even though Pat's in one of the lower horsepowered Group N Imprezas,
Right 5,
watch for him to make a big
300.
impact this season.
This year I'm going to be working on the SCCA Pro Rally Championship. I've got a package together, just put together a couple days ago for 6 rounds. Last year was a great year for me. I got a lot of experience doing the World Rally Championship for production cars, also doing the Canadian Championship with Subaru Canada. It was an awesome experience. This season I'm looking to hopefully try to fight for the Group N crown here in the United States, and also at the same time I'm going to be driving up in Canada.
Last season, Mark Utecht and Jeff Secor battled hard to the very end, just missing out on a Group N championship. They're back in the Group N Impreza this year, and they are aware of the strong competition in the Group N class.
You know, obviously Ramana and Patrick Richard are very, very good drivers. They're certainly very capable of winning this event in class, if not overall. This event, because it is so slippery, the horsepower advantage of the open class cars doesn't mean as much. And it's going to be a good race.
Last season's Group N champion Shane Mitchell and Paul Donnelly came out of the gate hard here at Snowdrift, showing they were still in their championship form, setting the 2nd fastest times overall on the first 4 stages.
Definitely there's a bit of pressure, but not near as much as last year. I mean, last year we went for a consistent run, and we were looking for finishes everywhere. Here we're not. Here we're going to try and use a bit of speed, see if we can use what we learned last year.
And the leaderboard by stage 4 had Andrew Comrie-Picard in 1st place, Shane Mitchell in 2nd, Pat Richard in 3rd, Dennis Martin 4th, and in 5th place, Seamus Burke. But it was still early in the event, and the leaders knew that.
You know, there's a lot of rally left, a lot of great competitors right behind us, and we're watching our mirrors because anybody can put it together.
You could see the effects of the changing road conditions early on at Snowdrift. Doug Haver and Scott Putnam put their car wrong early on in the event on special stage 1 and found their weekend came to an end early. Taking a look at the 2-wheel drive classes, Dodge came out with a full army of neons to the event. 4 cars they brought to this event. Don Jankowski and Ken Nowak took advantage of the support by running 3rd in the Group 5 Dodge SRT4 Neon. Familiar names and strong competitors in the Group 2 class, Chris Whiteman and Michael Pollan were leading Group 2 in their Neon STX. The 2-wheel drive class is constantly searching for grip on the ice and snow-covered roads. Doug Shepard and Pete Gladys were able to take advantage of the 250 horsepower Group 5 Dodge SRT4. They were leading Group 2 and had no problem putting the power down. Doug told us his thoughts for the season and what it's like to have that much power on these slick roads.
We want to get some meaningful points early in the season. You know, it's very treacherous out here on the Snowdrift with all the ice, and when you have a 250 horsepower front drive SR24, You need to really play your cards carefully or you'll go through a snowbank and you'll be there till spring.
In this rally profile, we'll take a look at X Games and motocross superstar Travis Pastrana. Travis is already an accomplished racer on 2 wheels. We'll see how he does this weekend on 4 wheels, but he sure seems to like driving anything that has an engine.
Just pretty much drive everything. Got to drive Indianapolis in a Porsche Cup this last year and race champions in rally, but you know, rally is definitely the most fun out of all the motorsports for sure. Motocross is kind of what I grew up on, but rally's 4 wheels is best for sure. I've never driven before with a co-driver. All the events I've had have been kind of, sight. So it's really different to know what's coming up, and a lot of times I'm kind of misreading them a little bit, but it should be a really awesome event. I mean, they stuck me with a great guy, so I'm stoked. Sliding is sliding. It's the same basic deal, and just being able to control that as well as possible. And I think I have a good feel of that on a motorcycle, and it relates a little bit on the 4 wheels. I mean, obviously no handlebars. It's different, but racing's racing, and hopefully I'll be able to adapt pretty quickly. Right now, I just want to see if I'm any good, really, and just have some fun, some low-pressure events, and what better place to start here in the snow.
It's hard enough on the ice and snow, but we'll do it in the dark when we come back. This SCCA Pro Rally event's brought to you by Subaru, driven by what's inside. And by Mopar, authentic performance. The series is presented by Hot Wheels Racing. As the drivers head out to face the 3 nighttime stages, Dennis Martin came on some problems, but they weren't his. He came up on a limping Andrew Comrie Picard. Dennis's problem would be trying to get around him. Used a snowbank to help. Luckily, he made it around and didn't get stuck on his own. There's a lot of sharp ice hidden under the snow on these roads that can often pose a problem for the competitors, like it did for Andrew Comrie Picard.
We had a spin in a snowbank, and a wedge of ice pushed the serpentine belt off. So that was about a mile into the stage, so I did 6 miles with no power steering, which is a bit tougher than I expected even on snow.
That problem dropped Comrie Picard down to 6th place. Back on board with Dennis Martin, you can see up ahead that's Raman Alagaman off to the side of the road. The problem for Dennis, though, is trying to get around him on these narrow snow and ice-covered roads. Dennis was able to get by and keep going. Raman Alagaman didn't have the same luck.
Unfortunately, on stage 5, the steering rack broke internally, and the steering wheel was actually freewheeling, and we had no control, and the car just stopped at the side of the road in a bank. It wasn't a big deal. We were just stuck at the side of the road. We couldn't move because we had no directional control of the car. So another competitor squeezed by us and knocked off our mirror and dented the left front fender, but it was no big deal.
Group N competitor Mark Utek would also have some bad luck on these ice-covered roads. He's coming down a hill here. Can't quite make that right-hand turn into the snowbank. One quick effort to back off the snowbank, but their night was over.
Nope, we're done. Triangles.
Coming down that hill, it was just glare ice, and I tried everything that I could to try to slow the car down, and we just went into the corner with too much speed.
Picking the right tire for these slippery conditions is critical at snowdrift. Shane Mitchell made a mistake picking a tire, wound up costing him a position.
Not good for us anyway. Definitely went on the wrong tyre. Went on the snow tyre, it didn't work at all. Dropped a load of time, but we're back here, we're happy enough.
Seamus Burke and Charles Bradley were getting used to their new open-class Mitsubishi Evo, moving up into 2nd place in the nighttime stages.
What's the distance after this?
100.
We're on board with Pat Richard
Caution,
in the Group N
brake, turn
Impreza.
left 2 minus on crest.
The combination of Pat Richard's skill in these conditions, as well as the problems of other competitors, moved Pat up into the lead in the nighttime stages. Taking a look at the leaderboard, you can see it was a very tight battle. Pat Richard with a 17-second lead over Seamus Burke. Burke was 14 seconds ahead of Shane Mitchell, and they were followed by Dennis Martin and John Kemp.
For us, it's been a strategy of trying to keep a steady pace and, pace ourselves with the other drivers, keep up, and, hopefully, we're going to stay on the road, and guys are going to, maybe have a little incident here and there and get lucky, but that's part of our strategy.
In this edition of Rally Dirt, we'll take a look at the Dodge Mopar team. Pete Gladys, Doug Shepard's co-driver, tells us how they got here and what we can expect to see from the team this season.
Dodge's involvement this year is really taking a couple of different approaches. It's really a showcase for our ability to show off the Mopar Performance parts lineup, and we're going to showcase different sets of components throughout the year, running Stage 2 on the West Coast, and at Pikes Peak we'll be running the Stage 2, the real big turbo package. We're going to really take a tack on the Group N cars for the peak. The rally really gives us a showcase to, one, show off the parts. We're certainly getting a lot of very positive feedback from our customers, but it also gives us the ability to test the parts. This is probably the most gruesome test you could put on a set of engine, powertrain, driveline components. Some of the components we've actually upgraded, not only for the rally cars, but we've put right into production. So it's a test bed that we can move on to production with.
And the Dodge Mopar team's efforts seem to be paying off this weekend. Doug Shepard and Pete Gladys in their Group 5 SRT4 Neon moved up the field to 9th place overall. Very impressive for a two-wheel drive car in these unbelievably slippery and treacherous conditions. Doug's showing us how he used the snowbanks to keep the car on the road. As we go on board with Doug Shepard, you can see him come up on Mark Utecht, who's still stuck in the snowbank on the side of the road. Long, cold night for Mark Utecht ahead. Doug's making this drive on these roads look easy, but he tells us it's anything but.
Yeah, it seems as though we're moving up through the attrition and mistakes of the others. The last stage we got by a couple of cars that were, one was stuck in a snowbank, another guy was spun out an intersection for a while. Stage before that, another guy went through a snowbank and stuff. We haven't been without our moments. We had a little bit of a quarter spin and a lot of snow on the hood once, and I had to knock myself on the head and say time to get smart here. So it's going to be a long rally, but I think we're doing really good for a two-wheel drive car. This SRT4 is a rocket ship.
Chris Whiteman and Mike Pollan were showing they had the skills too. Second in the two-wheel drive class and first in Group 2, they moved up to 10th place overall. And Don Jankowski and Ken Nowak completed the Dodge trio as they were running third in their Group 5 SRT4. And in the production GT class, Otis Demeters and Peter Monin showed they had the power to hang it sideways to lead production GT. Showing his smooth driving style, Patrick Morrow and Neil Smith in second place in production GT. And Travis Pastrana, who's in the PGT class at this event, set fastest time in his class on Special Stage 1 and 2.
Right here. Good.
But he ran into problems on Special Stage 6 with this off into the snowbank.
No, I think we're okay.
The car kind of got hung up on the snow in the middle, and Travis was under the car, kind of with both hands, digging like a German Shepherd, throwing snow out between his legs, and under the car and kicking the snow out too. So he certainly got enthusiasm even for that part of it.
We'll see Day 2 action when we come back. Day number 2 and leg number 2 saw even colder temperatures at the Snowdrift Pro Rally. And since Patrick Richard is leading the event and he's first on the road,
jump 70, jump 150.
Jumping the car in snow and ice only shows the confidence these drivers have. Seamus Burke started the day only 17 seconds behind Patrick Richard, but difficulty in the tire choice cost him some time on the early stages of day number 2. Shane Mitchell made the right tire choice for these conditions, and in his Group N Impreza was able to make up time and move into second place overall. Andrew Comrie-Picard's crew was able to solve the power steering problems from the night before. He came out flying on day number 2, making up time and moving up into 4th place. Dennis Martin also came out pushing hard, sometimes a bit too hard. As he pushes over into the snowbank, he keeps the car moving, keeps the momentum going, but the problem here was the visibility with all the snow on the windshield. Pat Richard was able to increase his lead on day number 2. He was followed by Mitchell, Burke, Comrie-Picard, and Dennis Martin. Pat told us he's able to run this event on his own pace.
I mean, the key for me is that this rally has short stages, so if anybody wants to make a push for the lead, we're going to know that it's happening, and then we can pick up the pace if we need to.
And in the two-wheel drive class, Giles and Asma made an early push on day number 2 to take third in the two-wheel drive class. So Don Jankowski and Ken Nowak inherited second place in the two-wheel drive class. But Doug Shepard and Pete Gladys continued their dominance in the two-wheel drive class.
Into right forward, tightens to 3.
Hitting the snowbanks is all part of Doug's strategy.
Good momentum.
First time through the roads is really, really nice because as we come to the corners now, we can just bump the inside edge and it kind of makes the car spin around in the direction of the corner you want, and then you kind of come out of that and go. And so I think we got our pace up a little bit, maybe more than is going to be safe for the rest of the day. We'll see, but it's an awful lot of fun.
More snowdrift action when we come back on Speed.
No stop signs, no red lights. Just you, a Mazda 3, and a closed course. Announcing Mazda Rev It Up, the world's largest performance driving school and national competition. Learn from top pro drivers. Compete to be a national champion. To sign up, log on or call in. Mazda Rev It Up, coming soon to a city near you. How much is in you?
Red Bull is searching for one American driver to become the next Formula One world champion. Are you the one?
World Rally Championship Sunday night on Speed. Intense heat and grueling conditions test the limits of man and machine. Brace yourself. This one's a car breaker. World Rally Championship Cyprus, Sunday night, 9 Eastern, only on Speed.
Back at the SCCA Snowdrift Pro Rally, let's go on board with leader Pat Richard.
Crest, double caution, 70, down turn, right 2+.
More than one driver's made this same mistake on this infamous 90 right on this icy downhill section of stage number 11.
Oh, there's no way.
Pat's able to get it turned around and get back on stage, but every second counts in this ice and snow.
Because I'm not driving flat out, it's kind of easy to make mistakes. I made my sort of first mistake of the rally. I missed a T-junction on the last stage, and you know, those kind of things can happen, and one little mistake can really put you out. So we're still going at a steady pace. You know, we're not winning stages, but we're leading the rally. So that's the plan's working out.
Here's another look at that infamous 90 right on stage 11. Seamus Burke and Charles Bradley aren't fooled, though. They make that turn right, but right down the stage, they make a mistake on another right-hander. This partial spin and stall cost them valuable seconds. It comes down to tire choice on the snow and ice, and Seamus tells us about his tire choice at Snowdrift.
The other guys went out on snow tires, so we went out on ice tires, so probably a bad choice. We can't look at the stage beforehand, so you know, it's just a guess. You know, there's a lot of ice. The snow is very soft this year. There's a lot of ice under the snow, so it's a gamble.
Although Seamus made the best of his tire choice and moved ahead of Shane Mitchell, Mitchell struggling with tire choice as well, not for lack of trying though. His car showed the battle scars of pushing hard on these stages, and we had a chance to hear from him about the conditions.
We're happy to go where we are. It's too slippy out there for me to be going after, definitely. We're happy where we are, we'll sit.
Comrie Picard was pushing with maximum attack, and sometimes that was too hard for these conditions. As we go on board with Dennis Martin, we'll take a look at the results of Comrie Picard's hard charging. Comrie Picard's off into the snowbank didn't end his event, but it did drop him 5 places.
If I go slightly wide, I can use the bank to tuck the tail in, but occasionally they'll plow out the corner, and this one was plowed out. So there was nothing to ride. It was a bit deceptive. We were sliding out anyways, off camber downhill, and all the wrong parts of the formula.
Looking at the leaderboard after stage 15, Pat Richard was able to extend his lead. He's followed by Seamus Burke, Shane Mitchell, Dennis Martin, and John Kemp. In this edition of Rally Extra, we catch up with Subaru's James Hahn on their commitment and efforts in this year's SCCA Pro Rally Championship.
You know, we have a vested interest in rally because it's part of our heritage, and we see the sport as growing. So we decided to form a new initiative called the Subaru Rally Support Program. And under that program, we offer a parts truck that will be at most of the events in the 2004 Pro Rally schedule. It's offering emergency parts on site for Subaru entrants and competitors so that they can continue on with the rally and finish. In addition to that, we're also offering our contingency programs both under the Subaru Championship Cup for Group N competitors, for Production GT Subaru entrants, and of course we're going to continue on with our club rally funding as well.
And let's take a look at the final results in the two-wheel drive class. In their Group 2 car, Jake and Silas Himes wound up 3rd place overall in the two-wheel drive class. And even though Chris Whiteman and Mike Pollan lost a few minutes in a snowbank, they still wound up 2nd place overall in the two-wheel drive class.
High center of the car, we lost about 7 minutes. Fortunately, there was some spectators and a camera crew there,
and they helped us dig out and push the car out. It was stuck real bad.
Doug Shepard and Pete Gladys drove home the message that the Dodge Mopar team was here to play this year by finishing first in the two-wheel drive class and an impressive 8th overall at Snowdrift.
50, right 5, into the finish. I got it. Good job. 51.
Boy, that was fun, wasn't it? I've been coming to this rally, over the last 30 years, and I haven't had a decent one here in at least the last 15. So for me, it was a real challenge, and to get here, finish in the top 10, win the Group 5 and on two-wheel drive overall classes with the SRT4, I couldn't ask for any more.
In the production GT class, Travis Pastrana brought his Subaru home in 4th place and says he had a ton of fun doing it this weekend.
I can't think as far ahead as a lot of the more experienced guys, but it's I'm getting there, so it's just fun. This is a great first rally for sure.
Ted and Lise Mendham were able to take home 3rd place in production GT. A steady drive all weekend by Patrick Morrow and Neil Smith awarded them 2nd place, with Otis Demeters and Peter Monin taking 10th overall and 1st place in the production GT class. It's the final stages when we come back. The SCCA Pro Rally Championship is presented by Hot Wheels. And this event's brought to you by Mopar, authentic performance. And by Subaru, driven by what's inside. In their Group N Impreza, Henry and Cindy Krolikowski drove steady all weekend and wound up in 5th place by the day's final stages. Dennis Martin ran a consistent rally this weekend in 4th place for most of the event. That's where he wound up overall by the end of the day's stages. Seamus Burke and Shane Mitchell were both battling for 2nd place overall, even though Seamus Burke was in an open class and higher horsepower, brand new Mitsubishi Evo. And Shane Mitchell was battling this weekend in his lower horsepower Group N Impreza. But you can see the same corner that Seamus Burke came through right here. You can see that Shane Mitchell made the right tire choice, took the turn much better. He eventually took over 2nd place overall, and that's where he finished the event.
Caution, brake, turn left 2 minus
on board with Pat Richard and Brian Maxwell, showing the skill and confidence they had at this event, showing that horsepower isn't necessarily the answer at this event by bringing their Group N Impreza home in 1st place overall.
5 minus tightens, 4 plus, over crest, off camber. 50, right 5,
Pat's
over
continuing
finish.
to establish himself as a force in North American rallying.
Woo!
A great way for Pat Richard to start his attack at the SCCA Pro Rally Championship this season. Looking at the final leaderboard, Richard and Maxwell wind up 1st, Mitchell and Donnelly in 2nd, Burke and Bradley in 3rd, Martin and DeMott in 4th, and Henry and Sidney Krolikowski in 5th place. Because this is the first event of the season, drivers' points will look the same with Richard, Mitchell, Burke, Martin, and Krolikowski 1st through 5th. Join us again May 29th for round number 2 of the SCCA Pro Rally Championship Series presented by Hot Wheels with the Oregon Trails Pro Rally. Accommodations were provided by the Garland Resort. For our entire broadcast team, I'm Russ Rosendale. We'll see you next time we go pro rallying on speed.